Welcome to the Pro Farmer Podcast, your source for what's impacting prices today and your guide to what will impact markets in the weeks ahead. More substance, less fuss. The Pro Farmer Podcast starts now.
Welcome to the Pro Farmer Podcast, everyone. Davis Michelson here. It is June 16, 2025. I had to look and check. June is going by so fast. Glad that you've joined us here. Please don't forget to take a moment to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our weekly updates here. We're going to look back at last week's markets with Hillary Mason, and then we're going to look ahead with Hillary, and then Brian Grady's going to join us. We're going to talk about, we've got to talk about what happened with the RFS just last week. Big announcements there. What is it going to mean for us? What do we know? What are we still missing here? So we'll get with Brian Grady on that. But good morning, Hillary. We're here at the middle of June. How's everything?
Flying by. Crazy.
Yeah, it really is. How are the crops looking around there?
They look pretty good. Pretty wet. Lots of rain over the past few days, and more today and the rest of the week. So maybe some hail at midweek. So we've got some worriers about that. So
sure, we don't need that hail.
No.
Well, let's talk about Friday's closes because it does feel like something kind of broke loose a little bit. I've got the wheat complex up double digits. Corn was up, well, between the July was up 6, and I had the D's up 2.5. The spreaders have been kind of fiddling around in that corn market there. Maybe that's got something to do with it, but higher on the corns generally. Beans, right. Wow. The July 27.5 higher on Friday. The Nove 27.5 higher there. It seems to me like maybe the bean oil got in there. We had some limit up closes there. Cotton was higher. Finally, the cattle decided they can go lower, and the hogs were higher. Hillary, that's an awful lot there. Talk to me about some of the strength in the grain and soy complex that we saw at the end of last week, please.
Yeah, sure. Last week was a pretty eventful week, as you kind of noted. And grains kind of missed the memo, specifically corn. U.S. and China reached a trade agreement early in the week. USDA released a pretty friendly supply and demand report. And then, as you noted, on Friday, EPA proposed a massive biomass based diesel mandate for 26 and 27. So a lot happening. The dollar was lower, crude oil surged, and corn just couldn't really budge. I mean, it did, end the week a little higher, but it's just kind of a slow roll higher, even though there's a lot going on. So
yes. Talk to me about that soy complex, Hillary, because the old timers have always told me never trust a bean oil led rally. So we got several bean oil contracts up the 3-cent limit, with July at the highest close since May 14. The soybeans loved it, 27.5-cent gains in both old and new crop futures. Do we trust this bean oil? Is this one going to be different, Hillary? Can we trust this bean oil led rally?
I feel pretty good about it thus far. I mean, I'm not sure I really trust anything at this point, to be very honest, Davis. I mean, it's just a wild world. but it feels I mean, that was big news Friday, and Brian's gonna talk a little more about it here in a couple minutes. But yeah, no, it was big news. It's good for domestic demand, and so I'm hopeful. I'm cautiously optimistic. Bean meal's kind of taking it on the chin this morning, so maybe some spreading action going on there. But that'll keep some gains limited in soybeans. But no, I'm hopeful, cautiously optimistic, I guess, if that answers your question, Davis.
Well, and because it wasn't just spreaders playing the meal oil spreads or something like that. It wasn't some sort of high-minded trade. It was just the oil market liked the news that it got, right? This feels fundamentally foundational, perhaps.
Liked it a lot. It was limit up like immediately. So, and it's up pretty strong this morning. So it feels pretty good so far. So, but we'll see. Again, a lot going on. We don't know what's going to happen from 1 minute to the next. So we don't get too comfortable with much right now. So
well, and speaking of don't get too comfortable, I've got August live cattle down $4.50 on Friday. I don't know what you make of the cattle complex currently here, Hillary. It's been on a heck of a run. What do you make of it?
Um, I keep thinking like, oh, is it ever going to end? But it
Right?
just hasn't so far. It feels like maybe it might be a little toppy. Um, but wholesale and cash strength has just really just been super duper strong. And so if that hangs on, we may keep grinding a little higher, but I'm not surprised to see some profit taking correction lower, which I think there'll be some cautious trade early this week, just based on the end of week close on Friday. So
Okay. Okay. Maybe sort of take a bit of a breather just
a
to start the week
breather.
here. And the hogs say, don't forget about me. My July contract was like 57 and a half higher on Friday. The October was up a little less, but hogs were higher on Friday. I liked it.
Yeah, impressive stuff going on in the hog market. Trying to keep up with cattle. It seems cash fundamentals are pretty strong, and wholesale too. So and we got the grilling season is in full force right now. So I feel like hogs will probably hang in there. Although if we see a deeper correction in cattle, there could be some follow through with hogs. So
Sure. Sure. Okay, well, let's talk about the upcoming week here. I think we've got a full week, don't we? We've got all 5 days, pretty sure, strung
yeah,
together in a row.
yeah.
Um, what will you be looking for? What's any red flags that you're watching out for? What you already said you might expect some quiet trade to start out this week a little bit, and I think that's fair. Uh,
Sure.
what else are you looking for in the coming week?
Well, something that I haven't mentioned, geopolitical tensions are pretty strong right now. So
Oh, are
that'll
they?
kind of yeah, yeah. So that'll be an underlying concern throughout the week.
Sure.
We do have Thursday is the Juneteenth holiday, Davis. So we do get a break. The markets are closed. Government offices are closed on
That's
Thursday. So
right. We don't get 5 days, do
we
we?
don't get 5 days. So
Wow.
we get a break.
Okay.
We get a break from the madness for a second. But anyways, we've got NOPA Crush this morning. We've got the G7 summit in Canada. Who knows what'll happen there? Anyone's guess. Hopefully something positive. FOMC this week, no rate changes expected. Cattle on feed Friday. That could be interesting. But yeah, those are kind of the main things. So, and with Thursday, I mean, trade could be interesting just with that pause Thursday. I mean,
Right.
who knows? So,
Yeah. Wow. Well, a 4 day week. It sounds like it's going to be a pretty full one. You'll have all the details in the newsletter by the end of the week, won't you?
right on. Sure will.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Hillary Mason, I've taken up enough of your time this morning. Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts with us. That's Hillary Mason from Pro Farmer. Stick around through these words real quick. We'll be back with Brian Gray. Hey everyone, Davis Michelson here, and if you're one of the listeners without access to Pro Farmer's daily market reports and policy insights, this message is for you. Right now, you can start a free trial to Pro Farmer, unlocking the same profit-boosting information that farmers have trusted for over 50 years. Sign up online at tryprofarmer.com. No credit card needed. Visit tryprofarmer.com to sign up and get more details and updates on the topics we're discussing today, plus much, much more. Okay, and welcome back to the Pro Farmer Podcast. Davis Michelson here. Pro Farmer editor Brian Grady now joins. Brian, we got some very exciting news out of EPA just last week. What can you tell us?
Yeah, really, the RFS proposals, and they're still proposals. They need to be finalized yet. But for 2026 and 2027, for biomass based biofuel or biodiesel, came in much higher than what was anticipated, and gave the soy oil market a huge boost. And so, while the overall RFS levels are record for 26 and 27, in this proposal. It was the biodiesel stuff that really caught the market by surprise, and gave it that bullish flare. The corn-based ethanol remains at 15 billion gallons throughout both of those years in the proposal. And so no surprise there. This is the biomass diesel that really grabbed the attention and will, I think, be the focal point, obviously, as we move forward. Now, there's a public hearing on July 8th, and that could spill into July 9th for public comments on the proposals. So we'll see. It hasn't been finalized yet, but definitely a bullish flare for the soy oil market.
Well, and on the potential demand side, as I understand, there are elements in this proposal that actually exceeded biofuels industry expectations. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. The soy oil side of things, it's very bullish for that. There's a couple things that also foreign feedstocks. It didn't ban them from being eligible for RINs, renewable identification numbers, but it did basically have those levels for which they would generate, and so that I think that's a key one. That was one that the marketplace was kind of uncertain on what would happen. So foreign feedstocks don't get as much value or bang for the buck, so to speak, for the RINs as what domestic feedstocks do. That one's supportive of soy oil as well. A couple things that it didn't include, didn't address how the SREs, small refinery exemptions, some of which date back to 2016, will be addressed. And so that one's still out there, but EPA will finalize that before the final rule. And so that we still await details on that one. That's a critical one.
Mm.
There's been some talk that they may go back and all the way back to 2016, grant some of those SREs, but they may reallocate some of the larger refiners. And so that'll be a key one, I think, as we move forward here.
So make this exciting news practical for farmers if you can. It's only a proposal, so um, there's more to come yet. But what does this mean for farmers trying to grow a crop right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the corn side of things, like I mentioned, corn-based ethanol remains at 15 billion gallons in the mandate throughout 26 and 27. So no real change there, and that's why we saw a muted reaction in the corn market. The bio diesel, that would be increased significantly. That's why the soy oil market took off. Soy oil futures continue to work higher here to open the new week in a big way, and so that's supporting soybeans, and that's probably the biggest thing if you look back to the farm level. Those SREs that I mentioned that weren't addressed in Friday's proposal, that one will be key as we move forward in terms of how that's dealt with, and that will be primarily an impact on the corn side of things, corn-based ethanol there.
Brian, I want to switch gears just a little bit and put you on the spot. We're in a key time period right now. I've heard around the Pro Farmer offices for years talk about that Memorial Day to 4th of July sort of period, and then we stick Juneteenth in the middle there. What do you know about this time of year right now, Brad guy?
Well, it's normally volatile anyway. So, typically you see either the current trend accelerate or reverse around the 4th of July timeframe in the markets. That's very common for one of those two things to happen. Uh, Now you throw in some of the increased volatility with the geopolitical tensions, Israel and Iran, and what's going on there, whether the U.S. will get involved, and the U.S. is not involved currently. But the possibility exists that that could happen, I guess, and so that the marketplace is watching that. Weather obviously is pretty critical at this time of year. We all know that as the crop starts to develop and gets closer to pollination in the July timeframe, and USDA has told us over the years that July is the critical timeframe for the corn crop, and so we're approaching that. And then you have all the trade uncertainty that's going on. The July 9 deadline for increased tariffs from President Trump, and all the negotiations that are ongoing with many countries, key trading partners, Japan, Korea, India, many others. And agricultural goods seem to be at the forefront of a lot of those trade talks. So will those countries make concessions on the ag side of things and offer to buy more ag purchases to hopefully avoid those tariffs from the United States. That I think a lot of stuff coming at the marketplace. So really already volatile time frame that we're into now potentially becomes even more volatile.
Wow. This may be the week when you have to add a couple extra pages to that newsletter just to fit it all in, Brian. Have you ever had to do that before?
No, we don't add pages. We just tighten the copy and make sure that it's just exactly, concisely what the farmer needs to know for their farming operation and from a market perspective.
And you do that so well. The Pro Farmer newsletters due out later on this week. Brian Grady, I'm going to cut you loose there. Sure to appreciate you. Thanks to Hillary Mason and, of course, to Pro Farmer editor Brian Grady. Production support from Zach Zingula for the Pro Farmer podcast. It's Davis Michelson.
Thanks for joining us. We'll return next week with another episode of the Pro Farmer Podcast. And remember, everything talked about today is updated throughout the week on profarmer.com and in this Friday's Pro Farmer newsletter.